Hey everyone, this is Farah
This is Laura.
and we are here with Wild Women Wednesdays and we have a hot topic for today, dating apps. And this all came up because Laura had a unique situation, or maybe not so unique, we'll see, come up the other day and we wanted to discuss it and also get all of your guys' thoughts because this is, I guess, the new way of dating nowadays. So Laura, can you tell us about what happened? I am looking forward to hearing more.
It feels like the not the new way to date, the only way to date.
Mm,
I
mhm.
I don't know about you, but like I'll go places, coffee shops, purposely stay like head up, not my phone. No one on my like no one talks to you. So dating apps I think are the only way to date.
Mhm.
And I hate.
Laura, I'm going to respectfully disagree because I hate dating apps and I have had zero luck on them. And so I am hopeful that there's
Yeah.
other opportunities out there. But what happened? I need to know. I need to know.
Well, I've been dying to tell you. I need to run it by you
Yes.
because it was it was unique. So I don't go with the flow. You know that that audio on TikTok right now that's like, I'd love to go with the flow, but what time does the flow start? Uh,
Yes.
that's me. I don't go with the flow. So this individual, I messaged it Bumble, right? You got a message first. So I hit them up and they mentioned something about boba tea. I was like, okay, I've never had boba tea. What's so great about it? He said, let's just go. They're open all day. So I went, which is good.
Yeah.
Not like me,
Hmm.
no other conversation other than like, let's go. So, um, yeah. Anyway, he shows up. He is a 10 in a lot of ways. A huge catch. Yes.
So
Yes.
attractive. A 10, are we only rating looks at this point?
No.
Or, okay. Oh, please
Yeah,
elaborate. Yes. Yep.
ambitious. He's a lawyer. He's an entrepreneur. He showed up a little pretentious in his dress and in a Tesla. However, and Apple Watch that he paid, with the watch. I am in an analog person in a digital world, so all these things are like, oh, anyway. So
Cool. No, I'm joking.
the banter.
Just kidding. No knock to anyone with any. I have an Apple Watch too. I do. I know what you're saying. Okay, keep going.
So the banter though was on point. And for
Hmm.
me, sense of humor is the biggest like green flag. Like it's the most important thing. A lot of people don't get my sense of humor. It could be dry, sarcastic, a little
One of the many reasons why I love you, actually. But
it can
yes.
be a little rough. Like people get a little confused. Like I'm not sure you're kidding. I can't tell. It could be a little edgy. So it's hard to find a guy who you kind of banter and click with. So anyway, so great conversation. Really good.
Wonderful. And
So
that's so important. I feel like, especially when you first meet someone, it's kind of awkward. And to be able to click on that level, I think really syncs things up. And you're like, oh, okay.
yeah,
Like this is coming together.
yeah. So it felt good in the moment. There were a few dips in conversation in that like he brought up topics that I was not comfortable with.
Like,
I didn't really know what to do in those conversations, like when those topics came up. So I got very flustered, which felt very like, oh, that put me off my game. So
mhm.
after the date, I left with this person. Are they out of my league?
Mm.
And I don't know if I really had that thought before, where
Hmm.
it's like, it maybe even is out of the league really just an outdated concept. But I was like, I was like digesting the date, like it was fun, it was great, but I couldn't keep up in that forum. And then this person's 10 years older than I am as well. So they've lived some life ahead of me. But I was like, huh, am I ever, is this person out of my league? And then I found myself worrying then. I'm like, oh, am I not going to hear from them again too? Like, are they going to like reflect back and be like, yeah, I'm out of their league. So I wanted to run this by you because I feel like I'm already compromising. Like I want to be grounded in my authentic self in this experience. So to go and like reflect back and have that thought, it's very like it doesn't feel good. Like no one should be
Mhm.
out of someone else's league, right?
You know, this concept is something that's always, it actually rings a chord with me because everyone used to always say that to my ex about me, um, in front of us all the time. It was like regularly brought up. And it bothered me. It actually really bothered me because I was like, why would you say that? That's obviously I think it's hurtful. I think it's a hurtful thing to say to someone. And then also, it's like, who the fuck created the leagues in the first place? So how are we distinguishing who's out of what league? Like, what categories are we basing this off of? And
Right.
like, who's the rating scale to decide this? So when you said that, I was like, I think it's all bullshit. So I would say that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And what I want to tell you is that you are a fucking catch. So screw him. He should be lucky to be even graced with your presence and to be able to spend time with you. And so I think it's rooted in something more. I'm going to keep it real right now, Laura.
Yep.
We're
Please.
recording. I was like, oh, I'm going to say it. It's like a deep insecurity for you versus, is there something that he did that made you feel like you were out of his league or that you were beneath him in any way when it came to like a dating dynamic?
No, no, not in a dating dynamic. Maybe only in that he's had, an insane amount of like qualified for the Boston Marathon, summited Mount Rainier multiple times, had multiple businesses, drives he's very accomplishment oriented, but also very upfront
Mm-hmm.
about those accomplishments too, which is
Almost
not,
like, yeah.
yeah, I'm not a boisterous person. I'm a humble person. I also, feel my feelings and don't like, um, he's cold, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes any sense. So, cold and digital and accomplishment oriented, which is, cool. Great for him. Like I like all kinds, but yeah, so I'm more like warm and I've been finding my way over the last 10 years and, a searcher and he's just kind of like a conqueror. So, I think there's a mismatch there, but, reflecting more on it, we've actually had a second date.
Oh, you
Uh,
have? Okay.
we did, yeah. So left that with that feeling of, hey, is this person on my league? And then like, oh, I hope I hear from him. I'd really like to get to know more because that like also riding that high of that again, that connection, that like buzz of the banter and like that just feels so good, So
It and like fun of flirting, and
yeah,
having like a conversation and being excited about someone. Like that's the fun part about dating. At least that's what I think the fun part about dating is.
right, right. So I wanted more of that because it's been a long time. So like I want more. And don't hear from him at all the next day, even though I messaged him. Like,
Mm,
all right, well, again, maybe it's not his style. He's very busy. And
that's
again, 10 years older, maybe that's not his thing to be like texting a certain,
yep.
we never talked about communication styles in that way. So I was like, whatever.
Hmm.
And so, I hear from him yesterday and he's free. So I just invite him to something I'm going to go off and do myself. Like I was going to go down and, walk along the waterfront and just enjoy the festivities. And I was like, hey, you can join me if you want. And he did. He dropped, he wasn't doing anything really but chores. So, just came and joined me. And we spent 5 hours like
Oh wow.
walking around and talking about all sorts of things. And, but I left there one with I got a hug and thanks for inviting me.
Mm. Which I don't think is bad. I don't think that's bad.
Except that the first date it was thanks. I'm glad we did this. I'd really like to see you again. I had fun.
Mm.
So yeah, so that feels cold. So I spent all night kind of thinking about or struggling through. So tell me your experience, but struggling through trying to decipher like how did I actually feel? Because there were a lot of things along the way that were very much like demonstrating that we have very different personality types. We view the world in such significantly different ways. Also, again, he's had a ton more accomplishments in that 10-year difference than I have yet. And just a lot of flirt. Seemingly might not like dogs. So
Oh
huge deal breaker, right? So, you
yeah.
know, but I'm in this place where it's teetering between trying to determine, I'm sorry, I'm not being clear, but trying to determine whether or not this person likes me or is not going to like me. So I want to find a reason to reject them first. Or really, how do I truly feel about this individual? And am I okay with like, do I want to hear from them again or do I not want to hear from them again? And it's just kind of a funky place to kind of sit and be.
Hmm. Well, it feels out of control, right? It's like you don't necessarily get to determine the next step or kind of how this progresses, or you don't know. There's a lot of unknowns to go along with it, which can be nerve-wracking because you're like, well, do I even like them? Do I even want to put myself out there? Do I even want to open my heart in that way to be able to make space? Or is this like, but I think that's the bottom line is like, do you like him? Like, do you see yourself really dating him and would you want to? Like, without any correlation or any like discussion or even consideration for what he is hoping for.
Yeah, I think if I sit in my body and like imagine and visualize the person for me, I
Mm-hmm.
want one that can meet my warmth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not, it doesn't have to be the same. They don't have to, be over the top, emotional or anything else. But just a place where I feel safe and at home,
Yeah.
being poetic, being warm, living my life with love, not feeling like it's consistently going to be met with um, doubt and um, pessimism.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that might be what then ends up being present. And, something that he said multiple times, which just I can't stop thinking about, is that he doesn't know what makes him happy.
Hmm.
And at 45, you should know at least an inkling of like, well, maybe, you know, some chocolate covered almonds make you happy, or maybe the sun being out today makes you happy. So, how could you ever expect somebody else and to be able to identify happiness with someone else if you can't even identify it for yourself? And the old me would lean in and be like, oh my God, I'll fix you. I'll help you find happiness. Let's get an Excel spreadsheet going and let's trial and error that bad boy and I'll make you happy. But now I'm like, wow, I'm not responsible for you finding happiness.
Too.
And
Mm-hmm.
I find happiness everywhere, in the cup of coffee, in the walks with Bo, in the sun being up, in the birds chirping, in getting to spend time with friends. Like I get that's primarily the representation of how
Like
different
I have an abundance of joy in my life.
right,
How can you not think of what makes you happy? Like
anything.
even the simplest thing. Yeah.
Right. So, it's just, I wanted to get your perspective on it just because this was so significantly different than other experiences since,
Mhm.
it's been a plethora of ghosting, of inappropriate messages, of people who, only want one thing, or individuals who show up and they've very much misrepresented themselves, or my biggest pet peeve is the individuals who show up who treat you like they are your own personal studio audience. So they just talk, 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 and all you do is ooh and ah and like provide that kind of feedback. And that is just my personal hell. So
You've mentioned this about a few people in the past. I was like, that one I'm familiar with. This one I've heard. That one I've heard.
yeah, so this was just such a different take. And it's just to have somebody initially was like, holy shit, there's such a catch. And then so quickly to realize like, oh, but you don't know what happiness is, so am I kind of okay if I don't hear from you again?
I think it's a step forward though within the dating journey because we've talked about this, really setting an intention for a standard for who you want in your life and the type of man that you're trying to attract. I believe in manifestation. So it's like, is he maybe one step further and closer towards that ultimate person that you are hoping for, that does have that warmth, as well as intelligence, as well as achievement, as well as all of the other things that you want to check off. And you actually being in your power and being confident to say, like, yeah, you're really great, but I actually want something more than this could actually be an opportunity for you to like step fully into that aspect as well, to be able to be like, I actually am better. I want something more. And I think it's okay to say that. But maybe he was just here to be like, "Hey, guess what, Laura? If you thought that you couldn't get all of these things,
Mhm.
you can, and he's interested in you. But in actuality, it's really not the right fit for you, and there's someone even better out there."
Yeah. See, I like that. I like that approach. It's something really good to keep in mind of like, we're getting closer.
Hmm.
It's not just all dead ends. Like we're getting closer and to know like even if I don't hear from him again, I'm not interested also in like there's a great reason. I already determined that he's not warm. So, it's okay if I don't hear from him because that's what I'm also choosing.
Agreed. Like I've told you about my checklist that I have for all dating. And if they don't meet those marks, I just am like, hey, you could be great. And they could be an amazing individuals. Actually, I've dated a couple guys. They're phenomenal. They're awesome. They're like so great. I'm like, can we be friends? Because you don't meet all my check boxes, but you're like super cool, really nice, easy to talk to. And I could totally see us spending time together in more of like a friendly like dynamic instead of something romantic. And I've had that conversation with a few people, and people tend to take it like I try to say it with a smile, but they take it pretty well. And so I do believe, because I think, and like it seems like you have a similar thing. It's like, I need to have an initial attraction to someone. Having that like chemistry when you first meet or see someone, I think is really influential or it's like indicative of what that relationship's going to be after that, and also kind of how you interact going forward. There's got to be like a spark, if you will.
Yeah.
Two, they need to be funny. No, two is they have to be intelligent. I have to be able to have a conversation with them. Like you said, like that's really important. And it sounds like there's not very many guys where you've really, clicked with someone on that level. And I do value the importance of that, because if I can't talk about life and like, concepts or even business or whatever, what have you, to have someone that's passionate about different topics is a huge turn on. I personally think I like to be able to have that conversation. Um, Three, they have to be super fun, because I like to like have adventure and like laugh and like be silly too, like it can't be too serious. Like if you're all those things but then you're like a stick in the mud, I'm like, like boring.
Yeah.
So I do think that's my third, and so that's the three. And then my last one is you have to light me up. When actually, I don't share this with many people. Now this is going to be on the internet, but I usually will kiss a guy. I really will. Just like, if they hit all of the other marks, I'm like, okay, this I actually could see myself. This could go somewhere, So but if I kiss them and I don't feel a fire light up within me, I'm kind of like, ugh, like it ruins it for me. It's like a best friend. Like, are you my friend or are you my partner and like lover and friend? I want to be a lover and a friend. And I've had that. And actually, that's why this is also important to me, where I created the standard from, is my ex and I had that type of relationship. He hit all of those marks and more. So to have someone that was driven, smart, funny, easygoing, like easy to talk to, my friend, could have fun, but then also was phenomenal. And the other, we won't go into detail, but covered all the other bases too, And so that's when people are saying he's at my league. I was like, you guys don't even know. Like, he is like hitting all the marks and more. And I couldn't be happier. I was so content for so long. We were together for 12 years. So, and I had never been in a really serious relationship before that. And that's because I don't think I ever found someone that was able to give me everything that I was looking for. And so now that I'm back in the dating scene, it's like, I have to have it all, because if I don't have it all, then what's the hell's the point of it, like. And also three flags, you're out. If you have three red flags, I'm okay with a couple, but like if you got three red flags, I gotta nix you. And there's a lot of different things that come up as red flags: excessive drinking, um calling me intoxicated, flag, that's almost an automatic out.
Yeah.
Or like certain like phrases, negative, like it's just like I can just tell, and I trust my gut, my intuition to guide me in those situations. But I'm like, okay, red flag. I'll give you another pass though. We're meeting each other. Could have had an off day. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I want to be receptive to that and compassionate about that. Um, but I've noticed, so now the past few guys, they hit some of them, but they don't hit all of them. But they're great guys. And so then in my mind, I'm at this point of like, well, maybe I just keep hanging out with them. Why not? Like, it's not like they are rude or like they've done anything for me to like stop speaking to them. It's just, and I try not to ghost. I have ghosted a couple, but I do feel bad about it a little bit. I don't feel I owed them really anything. We barely knew each other. Like if I had like one interaction with them, I'm kind of like, if we never talk again, we never talk again.
Is that an
Um,
in-person interaction or just online interaction? To never talk again.
Laura, I have a lot of men come up to me out of nowhere.
You
I
have some
will
problems in your life.
I will be sitting by myself at a restaurant. I go out to eat by myself a lot because I like to eat, and so I would just go out and eat by myself. And this is no intention. I'm not even sitting at the bar or like anything like that. I'll just be at a regular old table, sitting by myself, having dinner. I usually will have my laptop or something out that I'm working on too. And I will have men come up and approach me and be like, "I'm sorry, I had to come talk to you. They're like, you're beautiful. I would love to be able to see you again." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure." Or at grocery stores, coffee, like it happens more regularly than I even think that it should. And I attribute this completely nothing to more than I've fully been so in my power within the last like year and fully accepting of myself. I like who I am. I am 100% who I am at all times. And I'm able to be confident in the love that I have for who I am at a soul level. And I think that and like when you're kind of synced up on that level, there's a certain energy that you give off, and it's magnet like there's a magnetism to you. And that's I see it with other people too, and I'm always like, oh, they're in the zone. Like this is happening. So I think that that's really the only reason why this is happening to me, because this was not a regular occurrence like it is right now. And also I'm
I've
putting
been with
myself.
you when this has happened before too. And I was like, what is just happening here? Like we had just been talking about like manifesting love, and then this guy just comes up. It's like, hey.
I know, isn't it kind of strange? It almost catches me off guard. I'm like, oh, and then, but then, so then one of my friends was like, do you like, because then I got on dating apps, and so then I was like, and this is right, like this is not long ago. My ex and I had been separated for almost a year before I even turned on an app, because I was like, I really don't want to. I would prefer not to do this, but we'll see how this works out. I need to stop sitting by myself at home on Friday nights, and so I was like, okay, like let's put it out there. And again, you have to be open to receive. So like if I'm not available to someone coming up to me, then how am I going to meet people? And so I was willing to go on that. But few and far between I actually even meet someone on a dating app that I even want to speak to. And I'm almost immediate like, hey, we have banter a couple different times, and I'm like, all right, let's meet in person. I need to just meet you and see if the chemistry's there in life, in real life. And so then I meet them in person, and then I go through the checklist in my head as we like as we're like on the date, and then if it goes really well at the end, I'm like, and usually they're vibing. If we're vibing on that level, they're gonna lean in to kiss me, and so then I'll kiss them, and then usually that's when I know. And let's just say it's been minimal
Yeah.
fire, minimal fire, multiple times. And so, but then, or there's this one guy, there's a whole lot of fire, but none of the other things were really working. And I was considering that just for a period of time, because it's been so long for someone to light me up in that way, that I was like, but no, I'm not settling. I am sticking to my checklist. And if they don't hit all of the marks, nothing more. And so I do 3 dates, you're out. So if I don't feel like any of those things come together within the first 3 dates, I'm like, I think we're just probably better friends. And I kind of just cut him off. And or there's this one guy, he's so nice and he lives near me. So I'm like, do you guys want to do things together? And
Convenient.
I was like, do you just want to like, and he's new to Seattle. So I'm like, do you want to just like go hang out and like have fun and like go like go to restaurants, or like, go like check out different like events going on in the city? And he's like, yeah, I'm totally down to do that. Like, he's like, I have more fun. We went out a couple times. He's like, I have more fun with you than I've been the entire time I've been in Seattle, and I've been here for like a year. And I was like, and he's super cool. So I like hanging out with him. Nonetheless, I digress. So I was just thinking about him because I feel kind of bad about that one not working out. But that I think that there is an opportunity here, that I recognize that they say the universe gives you crumbs until you're ready to receive the full loaf. So like, and until you're like fully, like if you say no to all the crumbs and you're swatting them out of the way of the people that don't hit that mark, you're not going to get that loaf of beautiful rosemary freshly baked from a Kuna bakery or wherever you are. You're not going to get that, and I do believe that patience is key in that factor. And I think we're in two different boats slightly, because I've found that in someone, so I know that it's possible, and so I have faith that I will find it again. And I believe that for you too. And I think that this guy's only an indication that you're getting closer towards that loaf.
I would like to think so. Yeah. I feel like that feels good. It feels nice to believe that. So,
Wow. Because, well, and one, do you have a list of the things that you want in the partner? Which I know that you have like your post-it notes that you've been putting in the bathroom of like qualities that you want in
mhm.
someone. Um, have you like really, I'm just gonna get a little woo-woo on you. Have you wrote down that list and then asked, like, I want someone that has all of that embodies all of these qualities and that I'm ready to receive this person?
Yeah, I have a list. I have a list that's pretty open-hearted, like like-minded, ambitious, wants to see the world. And then yeah, I even did, I don't know if I told you this before, but like a watercolor of like a male form, but just like with the heart of gold. And it's like all like filling up then the rest of the space with like beams of light coming from it, because that's the most important, like a heart of gold. And so, yeah, I mean, I do think about that. I haven't revisited the list in a while. Maybe it's time to take the whole list and put it in the drawer with all the sticky notes too. But it is, I there's a weird place to be, I think, between a checklist on things you want to have and then the pressures of trying to define them, I think. So, in these apps, you have all the boxes to check literally, right? Like you have, your astrological sign and your
That's
education
all right, Paula.
and your, how do you engage with, cigarettes and marijuana and other drugs and drinking and even what are you looking for and the children and all those aspects. And it's like, okay, well, you know, do I have a perfect idea? Yeah. But then it's like, well, okay, well, maybe the person I want is technically could be possible in a body that's 2 years younger, and then you try to go that direction. Or, oh, it's closed-minded of me to want someone with a college degree, because there's plenty of people who are smart and ambitious who don't have college degrees. Well, and so it's kind of trying to find those things that, since that's how the apps are defining people, it's harder then to get it to the level I think you and I have these lists
Mhm.
of soft skills that aren't listed on the damn apps. And so it's like, yeah, sure, I can try this high school grad who's a blue collar worker. Yeah, no problem. How do I figure out now that the pool's tripled in size?
Yeah.
That they're, it's just a lot. It's so much work, and you know that. But
So
you've
much
told
work.
me too, like
I know.
you have very few matches. Like you don't spend a lot of time on there, and you're very, very picky about your matches.
Very picky. I am, well, I realize I'm just really picky in general, but um anyone out there, like I seem like a really easy person to swoon, but or make swoon, but I would say that I scroll through. I actually don't look at any of the criteria. So I scroll through. But I trust my intuition. So I will like look at the person, and it's their smile. It's actually their smile that is like my defining factor. So I like look, and then they do you have to be at least no knock to short guys. And I've dated a couple guys that are around 5'6", so I'm not saying it hasn't possible, but I would prefer someone that is over 5'9". I want to be able to wear heels and then be a little bit taller than me. I'm not totally opposed to it, but that's usually like one thing criteria that I look up, and then I do look up astrological sign, and so then that's usually I look at smile, I look at height and astrology sign. And then from there, I'm like, and then I just match with them. I send them a question. I see how they respond to the question, how interested they are, and like how eager they are to reach out to me and connect with me on that level. And then if there seems to be like, because I think that's one thing where I'm like, I've never approached a guy before. So this, like, kind of going back in the dating scene, I never have even like spoken to a guy and like hit on someone before. So like even the dating app of me being the one that initiates, kind of like it made me feel really uncomfortable at first. And I'm getting better about it because I recognize that I'm just as powerful and I'm just as willing to like have that conversation if I want to initiate that with someone. But at the same time, I do recognize that there is an opportunity for me to meet a larger pool of people, and but then I scroll through and then I'm like, banter, good, conversation, good, and then I just throw it out there. Now at this point, it's been about 6 months. I throw it out there and I'm like, let's go ahead and meet. Let's go ahead. Like, do you want to meet in person? Let's go grab coffee, or like depending on how much I like them from the start. I'm like, coffee if I'm like, like let's get to know each other. Lunch if I'm like almost like we might be better friends than not, but like I'm willing to like have the conversation, or a walk or something like that. And then but if there's like everything's hitting on full cylinders, we go straight into dinner, and I'm okay with dinner. And we've talked about this idea of going and getting a drink. And then I notice the guys that suggest to go get a drink are also a certain type of person. And I'm not saying a negative, but then they tend to drink more often. Then it becomes the main focal point of all of our interactions with each other, which I don't necessarily like that either. So, yeah, I'm I don't go on there often. I only go into apps when I have free time. And then when I do have free time, I scroll very quickly. And then there's just, some people just there's something about some people, and it's the smile in their eyes. And I will scroll through, and if I can't, and especially if I can't see those things, I'm a little disgruntled. And you're probably gonna get swiped. You're gonna get swiped to the left because I didn't get a full perspective, or I didn't get to see the full vision of that person. But if you smile, eyes, if both of those things hit the mark, race, job, everything else honestly goes out the window. I don't even pay attention to it. So I don't know. So on the app, are you almost being too
Too generous?
no, or even not being closed-minded in who could be someone that you do connect with? Like, do you judge the book by its cover before meeting them? That's my question for you.
Hmm. Well, I try. I put a lot of hooks in the river. Like I'm trying to hook some fishes. So I get a lot of timed out messages. Like they matched with me, I don't know how, and then I try to reach out and then they just go away. Like so they, it's 24 hours and so they never reciprocate.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know how to hold a conversation at all. So, we're trying our best out here, ladies, like to have something to say.
Mhm.
And I never just say hi, at least like, oh, like have any great summer adventures planned, or if there's something that they've put in their profile that's worth like using as a conversation piece, that's great. That's really helpful. So like my good criteria to like swipe left is like they don't bother to use their about me at all, because
Mm.
like this is a marketing document. Like this is your chance to like just shine about yourself. So if you have such little to say that you didn't bother to even write anything in there, no.
Yeah.
Group photos only or sunglasses only photos. Like,
Oh,
no, because to your point, like you want to see what the individual looks like. And if you're constantly surrounded by other people, I'm like, so are you just social butterfly, or do you have no photos, or do you not want, close-ups of you? Like it's very confusing, and multiple photos with drinks in their hand.
yes. Sorry. I was thinking there was this one group photo, and I was like, it was the first guy's photo, and I was like, I'm actually very pleased with any of these people being that. I was like, I might meet you just to, okay, anyways, this was terrible.
Yeah.
I did not pursue any conversation with that guy. I just want to, I
Yeah.
want to conclude with that. But yes, what was it? Lots of drinks in the hand.
Yeah. So those kind of things are immediately like, we won't drive. And then, if they've bothered to check the box that says something casual, mine box says marriage. So if you want to, out of your way to say that, and I do understand like that shouldn't be a deal breaker, because most guys, like there's the joke, right? That if you ask a guy if they ever want to get married, the answer is probably no. Like, do you really want to be married? Like, like,
Oh, really? I don't know if I've heard that.
it's silly, but, or do you really want to be a husband? And it's like, so, I'm being a little hard on them, but, if my box says marriage and yours says something casual, like we're in different places too. So, and I don't mean to go on a list of like the swipe lefts, but there's a lot of people then who get rights, but then the conversation fizzles out and it's like, okay, were you just mass swiping? Like, why did we even match in the first place? And, I think part of that drives the thought of like, oh, this guy's out of my league is because so many of the people who never message back have many of these criteria that this guy has. So it feels like the people whose intention are just for attention, or are treating it like I'm going to message you in the middle of the night next. And, just kind of those junk behaviors.
Booty call.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's just been a challenge to navigate like genuine humans out of what's just kind of like people's window shopping or fuckboy behaviors.
Yeah.
And so
I had to learn that one
I had
early
to
on.
weed through it.
Mhm. Because the fuckboys tend to be pretty attractive, and then
Yeah.
they actually have nothing else to offer. And then you're like, I don't, y- there's not even any other conversation. But they are consistent with the messaging, though. They will definitely go above and beyond to like, I had one that was texting me every morning and evening when he went to bed. And I was like, you are putting in so much effort, and I really think you just want to get laid. So I am surprised and somewhat impressed. But I stopped. I just was like, I don't think this is going anywhere. And I never actually met him in person just because if he was a little too forward and started sending pictures, and I was like, you're definitely not getting a picture of me. I don't know you.
Yeah.
And
Weird.
so, yeah, right. And so I think that you are in a position right now where you really want a committed relationship. You want something
Mhm.
exclusive, you want something real, and you want something with substance that could potentially, convert into marriage, right? And there's nothing else other than that that you are seeking. So, I think you should double down on getting even more precise about what you want, because then you just need to say, no, this is my standard. This is what I want in a man. And I will not take anything less than this. I will not settle for anything less than this because I am worth this and I deserve someone with a heart of gold who's also driven, who's also kind, who's also intelligent and fun, and makes you laugh and humor, and you guys can like have those good witty conversations with ease. And
Mhm.
that's you do deserve that. And there is it's coming. What do you think? But is it on an app? I don't know because the apps just make it so complicated.
I do. Yeah, they do. And I think we kind of all get guilty of the like, what's next? What's behind, what's at the after the next swipe or the next swipe? And so, the gamification of an app that keeps you engaged in it is the idea that there's always something better around the corner. So, I want to meet someone out in real life. So I need to be out in real life more. I think more present, more in my own power, but out doing things that I enjoy and trying to find that balance. So less time with fuck boys on the internet and more time, out there with the universe.
Fuck the fuck boys. I was like, I've nixed them. If I have any, that's a red flag. Actually, that's one of the red flags that come up. But I, it's difficult though, because I think we started this whole conversation saying like, how else do you even meet people now in real life when there's, and pretty much everyone's dating on apps. And so it's a fine line because like, where do you actually, and we've talked about this, like, should we just starting to go do things that you enjoy, and then maybe there's other people around that you might connect with while you're out doing those things that you would normally do on your own,
Yeah.
just because it immediately connects you on a common interest from the start, which I enjoy. But I have been, meeting a lot of but I spark up conversation in random situations. So like I'll be at a grocery store and I'll start talking to the guy behind me at like, and then we end up just like laughing and kind of joking about things. So like I tend to just be very, and like in my mind, I'm not even like doing this in any intention to date the person. Well, I guess if they're really attractive, actually, if they're really attractive, I probably would clam up and I would be very like shy because I get really, really, really shy when I'm actually attracted to someone
Yeah.
because it's so few and far between for me to see someone and be like, whoa, that and that they seem nice because back in high school there was like the hot guys, but they
Yeah.
turned to be douchebags. And so how do you when you find a hot guy that's also super humble and nice, you're like, whoa, and then I like literally clam up and like have a panic attack by myself internally as I'm staring at them with the hopes that they will possibly speak to me. And so that is very not cohesive to like, but then, you know, do we want to have that level of excitement and belief that that is the person that I could potentially introduce myself with to and be able to have something more with. I don't like in real life there's so much pressure, or right? What do you
Yeah.
think on this? Like what is the drawbacks of meeting people in person versus online? Or pros and cons of both? Or even I'm just curious to hear what your thoughts are.
I mean, I'm so pro meeting someone in real life because then then you're already also can feel that vibe. Like you can read their energy much better too. Like it's been so
Mhm.
many times where I see pictures and I'm like, oh, this person seems really cool. And then I meet them in person and they're like, they just move their energy as they move through the world is very closed in or closed off, just not engaging in like a positive way. And it's like, oh, that's a big turnoff. So, I think that's a positive meeting in real life. You already know, you kind of feel their vibe, you see how they're interacting. If you're going to meet in a place that's social, you see how they treat people, right? Customer service, and, are they kind in those environments? And so I think there's a lot of pros, but it is, you got to have a little confidence to reach out to people in person and be open. And I think, so many people are on their devices instead of like having their chin up and looking around and engaging in the world around them. So it can be a barrier.
I think so. Agreed. Well, and then when you have this app, there's kind of some like, what is it? You've jumped through a few hoops to even get to the point of meeting them. Like you've both like made some agreements. Like I'm interested in you, I want to see you, and I'm obviously interested enough to take you out on a date. So and like take time to do this.
Yeah.
So I think it gives you a little bit of reassurance that they're somewhat interested in you.
Mhm.
While in real life, it could go a lot of different ways, and there's kind of that unknown. But I think, yeah, standing in your power, being confident in your approach, then. But I'm a big attract don't chase, and so I've been consciously single. I was consciously single for over a year because I needed to work on myself. I like did
Mhm.
a lot of self-development and like healed a lot of wounds, especially after getting divorced. Like I really wanted to make sure I was in a good space to even be able to show up for someone else. And now I'm finally, my friends were like, Ferry, you really do need to start dating at some point. And I was like, yeah, I know. And so now I'm kind of at a point where I am actively seeking that type of relationship, or a relationship in general. And it's scary. There's a lot of like nerves that get attached to it. And then also I know that I'm extremely picky. So then it's like, how do I not know that I'm like disregarding someone and maybe I shouldn't be? And that's even a fine line to walk as well. And but I have noticed that people I meet in person, I'm much more like there's it's more of like a snap. Things click together a little bit better than people that I've met online. And I have met like probably like two really nice guys. I've only gone on dates with less than four people from a dating app, and I've gotten over 5,000 clicks, or like people comment or like doing things on my
Yeah.
app. And like but out of that five, so like the number, like I say, high qual or high qual no,
Quantity.
high quantity. I was like, no, low quality. So high quantity, low quality of apps. And that's just like my personal opinion on them. But I am open because I think you just have to be. I think that's just the day and age we're in right now.
Yeah.
But it would be ideal. But then I meet great people through mutual friends or going out and being social in that way, where I meet really like amazing people, and then we click, and then we're having good conversation and stuff, and then it's like, okay, how do you even, but I've been out of the game for so long, it's like, how do you even from there be like, we should talk again, or should I say this, should he say this, like how do we even initiate those like next steps in order to like even create something, or even like pursue a relationship with someone, or even to curious about the possibility of creating a relationship with someone.
Yeah. No, it's so challenging because you don't really know, or they don't really know, whether or not they're actually available or not. So it is definitely something to navigate, but I think both of us we're trying our best. We're getting out there
Yeah.
and we'll manifest it.
It will come. But
Yeah.
there's going to be, as with all manifestation, there will be tests along the way, and you have to say no to the tests in order to get more aligned and more synced up to the person that you're supposed to be with. And whatever you are putting out there is what you're going to attract back to you. So then it's also like this idea of like, am I even ready to be able to be prepared? Am I prepared for this relationship that I am hoping to find? And like, can I do everything I can in order to make sure that I am? And then once they do come, I do believe in divine timing, that everything will kind of fall into place when the time is right. At least that's what I keep telling myself, Laura.
Uh,
I'm borderline celibate at this point. So this is where I'm at.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. And again, this is exactly why I started the love songs. So
Yes. Okay.
let's talk about self-love. Let's talk about our love songs this week. What do you got?
Mine is So coming, I pulled this up right beforehand. I don't even really know the band. I felt that, I tend to find songs and then they just like hit me in my core. Coming Alive and To Another. I don't really know very much about them, but I found like three or four songs that I really love of theirs. And this one is it's just sweet and it's like that first love kind of like love, where it's a little naive and cute, but then
Mhm.
is an innocent in a way. But then there's such a soul deep connection, which I think I'm always singing to my soul. So that's usually how I pick my song. What about you? What did you pick for this week?
I got a Frank Ocean song this week, thinking about you. So, yeah, good vibes, really good vibes, but just, over and over, I'm thinking about you. I've been thinking about you. Do you think about me? And it's like, I'm gonna say that and answer it all at the same time. Like for me, like, right? I'm thinking about me and I'm thinking about me.
Yeah. Well, and the more that you do, the more that you kind of know what you want. I think that's the hardest part with dating. But you know what you want. You know what you want, little lady, and I believe that 100%.
Yeah, I just gotta keep that in mind in the moment and continue to not accept less.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
Mm.
get there. We'll get there.
You and I both. Okay. That's the sound to describe how I feel about dating. But I thank you for joining and being willing to have this conversation. You brought it up. You're like, "Can we talk about this right now?" And I'm like, "Sure, let's do it." And there's so much truth, and I think so many people are out there experiencing the same gosh darn thing, and it's frustrating and it's difficult, and it's hard to keep putting ourselves out there time and time again with the same amount of optimism and vulnerability when it's not always matched. And I think that that's it's like wearing your heart on your sleeve. Sometimes you just want to take it off because it's too difficult to keep getting the patch torn off. And I definitely can understand that too. And we're out there. It's brave. I feel like dating's a very brave thing to
Yeah,
do. So,
yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, thank you so much for walking me through all that today.
ah, you know more than I do about this. I'm just like I've just been really ruthless in my online dating, so I was like, this is where I'm at. But and if, for all of you that follow us, please subscribe to Wild Women Wednesdays. And if you have any input on this topic, bring it on. We are curious to hear your guys' thoughts. This is something that's so much out there and so many people are doing. And I feel like we've almost succumbed to this idea that this is the only way we can like meet new people or meet, in our particular situation, meet men. And so I'm curious to kind of hear what other people are experiencing firsthand.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We'll see you next Wednesday.
See ya.